keep this open after.
My goal is to see what they'll be willing to do.
Well, it's not Julie, it's Judy.
Judy.
It's
Judy, yeah.
Judy Williamson.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
hell,
welcome.
I've been calling her Julie or Judy this whole
That's when
time,
you
or
said
whatever.
It's like Cary Grant, Judy. Judy
She's a
Williamson.
nice lady.
Okay, motion to cease to, come out of closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're out of closed session.
So,
Okay, Sheriff.
On the receiving side,
That's what I
I'm
was
gonna
messed up.
tell her about the money that Weaver Human Services and see if we can do something off-site. Or expand up there or off-site and have her donate
To
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 it.
that.
There you go.
That
So
could
if we
be
can put
another
in 500, they put in 500.
public benefit.
Something.
That's what we always had hoped.
Yep.
That'd be good. Thank you, Sheriff, for your report today. Wonderful.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right,
So-
commissioners, that's a great report. We're gonna now move on to item number 3 as we move out the.
JUDY.
I'll send you her contact.
Thank you. I have it in here, but I think I got saved in the wrong name.
It's okay. That's the one thing
She's
I'm.
probably every time going.
But she should correct me.
I know.
Yeah,
Will you mute for just a sec?
yeah, I just saved this to.
Very
You're
end.
gonna get her,
Oh,
I don't, I thought I had, but I don't.
we'll call her
Don't
Judy
mind
next.
reach.
I never.
I didn't say enjoy it.
Thanks for that name, Gary.
You bet. Let me know if that doesn't pan out. They're gonna be a little slow. Commissioner,
Are they?
They're pretty booked with everything right now, so hopefully it's not something you need immediately, but sometimes they can rearrange. Okay, welcome. This is item number 3 on our agenda today. It's a discussion regarding the proposal. The proposal to amend the residential zones and add an R1-5 single family and to amend the R3 zone to create an R3-A and R3-S zones to provide multifamily attached zone for a multifamily stack zone, to amend the site development standards for R1, R2, and R3 zones and related to clerical and administrative amendments. Charlie Ewart, Rick Grover, Sean Wilkinson, William Keels are here, Gary Myers, Jeff Meads, Cameron Spencer. I'm gonna have you, Charlie, lead up.
Thanks, Commissioner. Sounds like you're taking either a softer touch or have a cold.
No. No, it's,
Neither?
this is exactly how I've spent my weekends.
Did you meet with the family?
Yeah, beautiful family reunion, lots of food. Oh, it's great.
Sorry. That would be you guys, Sean, for you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the same packet that I gave to you guys 2 weeks ago. Just a reminder, we're rediscussing the potential code changes as a result of a submittal from the Westbridge Meadows development, but also as a template to redraft our residential ordinances to better match what our general plan is asking for. So general plan talks about, obviously, we've got a lot of those 30 acre lots or even 1/4 acre lots, and where the general plan colors those lands as yellow. And then where the general plan colors the land as orange, it's just mixed residential. It doesn't, if you read the plan, it doesn't say what mixed residential is. It basically says developers propose something here. We acknowledge it'll probably be more dense than the 30 acre areas, but we need to see what the market will demand. And so we're kind of hoping to do a market demand approach in those orange areas. With that in mind, we know based on our general plan and based on the standard practice that's emerging in the planning and development field now, our ordinances are a little antiquated. They were developed they're probably based off of a model zoning code that was developed in the 20s. And then was adopted by Weber County in the 50s. We've made a bunch of changes to our code in a lot of different respects, except for the residential zones. Mostly because we don't have a lot of residential zones in the unincorporated area, at least not until now. We've got residential estates in the Uinta Highlands, and then a little bit of residential estates up in the valley, and a couple of neighborhoods in the Uinta Highlands that are just the R1. But that's it. We probably have a total of maybe 20 acres total in the R1 zone, with the exception of the R115 zones that we've recently adopted in Western Weber. Through those development agreements and those adoptions, we put some alternative site development standards in a lot of those development agreements, allowing a lot of those houses to come up closer to the street. Giving the developer the benefit of having some smaller lot sizes and some larger lot sizes. R115, meaning it's not 15,000 square foot minimum lot sizes, it's take your gross area divided by 15,000, that's the number of residences you get. Your lot sizes can go as small as 6,000 square feet. So that's kind of how we've been working with developers. In order to get that benefit, the developer has to put the streets where county staff are asking for those streets to go, and have to put pathways in pretty frequent intervals. And that's kind of the trade-off.
Frequent's not defined by any number. It's the word is frequent.
Yeah, well, our code says the standard is 660 feet for
Okay.
roadblocks and 400 feet for pathway blocks.
Okay.
However, the code also says those can be deviated or modified to be bigger if the context of the property merits it. You know, if it's going,
660 is about an eighth of a mile.
that's right. It's what the block lengths are here in town, basically. So you're kind of looking at the same grid kind of pattern. And it doesn't have to be a grid. They can be, you know, all shapes and sizes. They can meander. But we would just want one intersection every 660 feet or so. With that in mind, one of the things is we've discussed, staff and county commission have discussed, when these developments are coming through, some of the questions that you guys are giving us is what benefit is this bringing to the community? And part of that, we're suggesting that they're opting in for these street connectivity incentivized subdivisions. And I've heard a couple of times that you guys would rather see that be the standard as opposed to the bonus or the benefit. And so what the changes do that are in front of you is they impose those as standard 660-foot intersections with for streets with 400-foot intersections with pathways. You're going to get neighborhoods that have a lot of great street connection, a lot of great pathway connection.
Here's what is frustrating, Charlie, is when we do something like this, or we amend the plan, and then there's still somebody coming in and say, well, we want to do this and this instead. I want this fix to be it. And so it's inefficient.
Yeah.
If we're dealing with inefficiencies when those things happen.
Yeah, I would agree. So what this does is it makes it the standard instead of the flexibility. There will may still be some circumstances where a developer asks for some leniency or some deviance. There's no obligation for you guys to give it to them. So we'll work with them and try and keep them on track with the standards that are listed in here. One of the benefits of having it the way that we currently have it, not that what's in here, is we're encouraging developers to do it this way. Now, that encouragement is in the form of any of that area that sits in a street right of way or in a pathway right of way doesn't count against your density, right? Most developers that we've been working with have been taking that option. If we say this is the only way you can do it, most developers won't know any different because that option would have been there. They would have taken it because it gives them a lot more residences, a lot more development ability. If we say this is the only way to do it, some developers are gonna feel like it's a little too onerous, a little too much for them to do or want to do. So as long as you guys are comfortable with the standard being applied without other options, we can toe the line. Just want to make sure you guys know that right now it's an option to do the street connectivity. But the way this is written, it wouldn't be an option in the R1 zones only. Other zones, yeah, like AB3 and even the RE zones, those ones still fall back to what the default was before. So we'll see a lot of this out west where we've got those new yellow and orange painted spots on the general plan map. So with that in mind, most of what we see here, because we are trying to attract a housing product that meets the needs of a diverse community, a growing community, meets the needs of the newlyweds, the nearly deads, and the in-betweens. To provide that in a way that gives both attainable and affordable housing and also housing that people want to spend $1 million on. Plus, we need to make sure we have got smaller lot sizes, bigger lot sizes, just a wide variety. And what we've been learning in the planning and zoning world is that through zoning reforms, taking away this, everything has to be an acre, everything has to be 15,000 square feet, no lots below this number, and going towards a neighborhood style that has a diverse product type, I should say, creates better communities, more diverse communities. It also keeps these corners of the community from becoming financially challenged. In favor, keeps that from happening in favor of having very, very wealthy neighborhoods. What it does is it helps integrate those things together. It doesn't always have to be right next to each other or even integrated, but at least they're closer together. One thing I've found in a project we'll be looking at here in the next couple of weeks is if you have to drive past some of the lots that are smaller with smaller house sizes on them to get to the lots that are bigger with bigger house sizes on them, the aesthetic of those smaller lot size neighborhoods tends to be better kept up because if you've got some families in there that struggle to keep up with their lots, but then you have other people who are going to their $3 million lot and they're driving past that, they're gonna be on the phone to somebody saying, hey, can we help get this cleaned up? So it kind of rising tides lifts all ships in that respect. The other thing it does, and the other thing we know that we're gonna find, concern that I had with JDC Ranch even, is if we do a really good job at this, even the attainable housing is going to be unaffordable at some point in the future because we'll be victims of our own success. I don't think that's a bad thing to shoot for, though. I think it's a good thing to shoot for. Still have a wide variety of housing types. So with that in mind, with this document that I handed out to you, this is the Planning Commission staff report. So this is not your staff report, but
Has this been heard?
by the Planning Commission, yes,
Okay.
and they've forwarded a positive recommendation on it.
Okay,
The second page in,
how positive?
they seem very positive.
I think it was unanimous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unanimous. Yep, no dissents. They like
Pretty
the,
now.
Thank you.
they really like the idea of product diversity, housing diversity in that neighborhood out west. So in this staff report, the second page in, I just give you guys the key topics of what these changes do. The first thing being general revisions. Under those general revisions, you'll find that we're proposing to add a new zone type, an R15 zone, where the density of that zone would be whatever the gross area is divided by 5,000 square feet. And then we go into definitions. We just update the definitions, and then add in also an R3A. A stands for attached. So that's single family attached. And then R3S, S standing for stacked. So you could see some condos or maybe even infrequently some apartments or something to that effect. Which incidentally, when we're talking to the Gibson farm folks, their architect kept on talking about apartments, and I said, don't say apartment. Nobody wants to hear apartment, because out here in the West, apartment means something a little bit different than what it means on the East Coast. East Coast, you can own an apartment, right? It's basically like a condo. But here apartment means apartment complex that's 4 stories tall, and it's a whole bunch of economically challenged people, and it's just kind of a scary word for people who have 1 acre lots out west to swallow. He said, well, we shouldn't shy away from the word just because of the word. We should help people understand the word. I said,
Well,
well,
there, yeah,
maybe we just don't say apartments, we
Good
say
luck.
condos.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm
They
gonna,
should tell people never drive a car to Salt Lake. You don't always, yeah, it just doesn't,
right,
they're not gonna do it. So
right.
I'm just telling you, I'm gonna have a hard time with the word apartment.
Okay, well, let's
And
not say
I'm
apartment.
likely not going to change my opinion. I've had 60 years of apartments, and I'm likely not gonna continue to, I'll do my best to try to learn.
You're just fine.
But-
I saw the reaction a little bit when you said that, so I figured I'd give a little bit of commentary on the word apartment. The R3 zone right now, your R3 zone, does allow that kind of stacked product. What we're doing here is we're suggesting split those 2 types out. So you got one that's vertical, one that's horizontal. Your vertical could be condos, owner occupied condos. They could be a variety of different.
Owner occupied condominium could work.
Yeah, so that's kind of,
Owner occupied.
I like it. Okay. So with that in mind, land use table changes just a little bit to include the R15, the R3A and the R3S zone, add some special regulations. And then most of what we've done with these changes sits in the changes to the site development standards. Setbacks get smaller, both in the sides and in the front, especially if it's a rear loaded product where you've got alleyways, your setbacks in the front might get pretty small up there. That gives the developer a lot of flexibility and opportunity to fit the density that they have in whatever zone they're in, while having a variety of housing products. So they're not going to get to a weird corner and say, gosh, we can't fit a normal lot in here. We're just going to have to do an oversized lot. They'd be able to shrink up some of those other lots so that they can actually get normal sized lots in there. Let's see. Make sure. So like I mentioned, rather than governing based off of typical minimum lot sizes, so instead of you cannot have a lot size smaller than 15,000 square feet in the R115 or 12,000 or 10,000 in the R110. We're basically saying that is the calculation for a developer to find what density they can get. So gross area divided by that number. In the proposal, you'll see how we are suggesting that be done. And again, we're trying to follow best practices when it comes to this kind of stuff. Let me have you turn the page back to. Here we go. Page 11 of 29.
It's pretty little, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry, I should have printed it bigger. I think I might have a
11?
magnifying glass downstairs if you need one. I could run and get it.
Wow.
So basically what this tells us is
That, cause that's,
this defines your total allowed density. And so basically says the total number of dwelling units allowed in any given area shall be no more than the gross area divided by, and then whatever's in that table next to it, 15,000, 12,000, 10,000, 5,000. And then when you look at the line below is just that calculation. It is gross area divided by 15,000 gives you 2.9. 12,003.63, 4.36. So we just gave the calculation saying your allowed maximum number of units per acre is this number here. So make it a little bit easier for a developer to know exactly what to expect. It's kind of a nice thing I found because when a developer comes in, their biggest question is how many units am I gonna get? And we can tell them right off the cuff, how big is your property? 300 acres, great. This is how many units you can get in this type of zone. Tells them what zone to ask for when they're asking for a rezone, but it also gives them a default fallback.
And when they come back and say, yeah, but if you let us do this and this and this, we could do this, just say, I'm sorry. We've already given you that's
That's
right.
right. It's already built into the zone. Yep,
That's the maximum number.
yep, this is the
Yeah.
max.
However, we could take something half that much.
Yeah, in fact, we'd be glad to, yes. Agreed. Okay, so what we do on the next sheet over, that's lot area, you'll see in lot area, this is where we still have minimum lot sizes. It's just they've gone down significantly. So what we're working with right now in the R115 zone. Today, the code is that if you do street connectivity incentivized, you can get lot sizes as small as 6,000 square feet. It's just your other lot sizes have to be bigger if most of your lot sizes are smaller, right? Because you still can't get more than 2.9 units to the acre.
Right.
So the density doesn't increase just because you get some lot sizes that are smaller. So you can see here where we're saying your lower limit on your size, there's still a lower limit in these zones. But they're significantly smaller than 15,000, 12,000, and 10,000.
Which they could do now through the incentives, but what you're saying, we're gonna require street connectivity, so that's off the table.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically,
Are any of
Which
these
I like,
lower than they
yes.
are now,
um,
these minimums?
yeah, so R115, the 6,000, we've only applied that in the R115 zone. Once you get to the R112, R110, I can't remember what we said those could be, but these numbers are different. I don't know if we specified. I think we might have only given the benefit for the R115 zone. But I could check on that for you. Okay. You can see here on this table how we added in the R15 zone as well as the R3A and R3S zone. One of the concerns that was brought up in the public hearing was there's a little bit of misunderstanding, people thinking that maybe we were putting multifamily everywhere out there, and somehow this got misconstrued to mean that the R3 zone is going to be applied everywhere. Just because we make these changes to these zones doesn't mean it means anything until we've actually applied it for a rezone. All of the R115s that are already out there, they're vested and entitled with the development agreement and the code that we currently have. All the A1s out there, these wouldn't even touch them in Western Reader. So these would only apply to projects forward as we rezone new properties. Okay. Any questions about any of this stuff?
So one question for you. Does any of these zones allow mini homes?
No, the county's minimum size right now is a 20 by 20, so 400 square feet. If that's a mini home to you, then the county's code already allows that.
Well, I don't know if it's a mini home or not to me, but I can tell you I had a meeting this morning. And there's legislation that more than likely will be passed, because I talked to some people that say it's got legs and they're meeting in caucus that will require every city and county to have a zone and a land use for mini homes.
Right.
So that's coming down the pike, just so you know.
Detached, attached, what do they say is many?
That they haven't gone, but I think they're classifying a mini home as a lot smaller than 400 square feet.
A
You mean
lot.
home.
Home.
Okay. Okay.
Now, whether that could be attached or not, I don't know. I mean,
Different
I-
question. Okay.
the bill is in the process of being written. If you've got some opinions, you should probably get those to me
Okay,
sooner than later.
no, I actually think it's a good idea, because.
Okay, well, it's coming down the pike.
And we can make sure those are allowed in the
Yeah, so
R2, R3A and the R3S.
I would just say, so if we're going through this, we should probably look at a
Address that.
provision, whether it's an overlay zone or create some type of vehicle. So when the state law passes, we don't have to come back and
Make big changes. Okay,
make big changes.
I think it's a great idea. Okay, I'll
Okay.
take a look at that and I'll, do you know who's proposing that?
Winterton it'll probably be Lincoln Fillmore unless he gets appointed to rules, and then it'll be one of his.
Okay, is he working with Representative White? on that? Is that part of the land use bill,
Who?
Representative White?
Yeah, well, no, it's gonna be a separate standalone bill.
Okay. Okay,
You say Ron Winterton?
Mhm.
Ron's a good guy.
Yeah,
Hey, hold on a minute, Charlie.
Mhm.
Commissioner Bolos?
Yeah, I got a couple questions, or comments, I guess, my opinion, on the minimums.
thank you. Wow.
I really don't wanna see those minimums adjusted down. I think that. Did you say 6,000 square foot minimum is what we've typically given?
Uh-huh, and the R-115.
I didn't know it was that
Mm.
small.
Yeah, well, they get pretty small in the other ones, 2,500 in the R15, R15
6,000's pretty small.
Mhm.
and
That's
20,
pretty small.
anyway, it goes pretty low. I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay,
The other thing I wanna just make sure is the density is not changing in any of these zones. It just doesn't adjust for street connectivity.
Sure.
So,
it just doesn't get.
and I agree 100%. If you come in with 10 acres, you should know that you know, you go to this graph and find out how many you can build. I've always felt that way. I don't think people should be penalized on the streets that they're required to build.
We also see it with like stormwater. If they don't have enough stormwater detention or retention, it's gotta eat up more acreage, meaning they might lose a lot. And parks as well, if they give up acreage for parks, they're worried about losing lots. So one of the reasons why we honed in on the numbers that are here is because if 50% of the property went towards streets, parks, and stormwater detention, that still would give the developer enough to get the same amount of density that would otherwise be allowed up there.
I just want them to be able to get all their density. But some of these lots seem really small.
They do.
But I do feel strongly about them getting the density, and we ran into this problem in West Haven, and they still deal with it, and that is the power lines of that major corridor, and
Yeah.
people can't build there. To me, that's where some of your larger lots go, right, and they have a huge backyard.
Yeah.
Cause I don't think people should be penalized because the power company came and built on their, farm from 100 years ago.
I agree.
But these just seem super small, I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay.
I don't know what I want them to be, but that's just my concern.
Okay. And happy to readjust and readdress any of these that you want to.
I think it's, that is small. Commissioner Floyd, any comments or questions?
no, I mean, my main concern, I think you've got addressed is somebody comes in with 20-acre parcel, we know exactly how many units they can have. And so I don't think it hurts to have a blend of lot sizes, just because you have different types of products that fit different. I'd rather have a smaller unit than and then have somebody to 6,000 or 8,000 square feet and somebody to 15 to 18 to kind of have a blend in your
Variety,
neighborhood, rather than have, I just take the cookie cutters where,
I agree.
that I had to sell out in Roy 50 years ago, where every home looks the same, it all sits on the same size lot. You go down the street and you can't tell your neighbor's house from your house.
Yeah.
I think it helps to have a little differential, but that's me.
There's something in here that you might like as you get reading through the proposed changes. Dwelling unit standards, let's see. Special regulations. Gonna make sure I remember how. So, when it comes to the R3A and the R3S zone, we want to see some of those buildings broken up, but also, if a developer is coming in with, a handful of products, like these are our standard building products.
Right.
Let's see at least, I think this says at least 7. You need to have at least 7 products,
Okay,
with no more than one of the product types showing up on the same street block.
I like that.
Now, that number 7 can be 5, it could be 20, whatever number you guys choose it to be.
I don't know what that number is, but it's nice to have a blend.
Yeah, and
That's all I'm saying.
there's a project in Davis County that we went and toured with Gary, that I thought was all custom homes. And then we turned the block and I saw one of the same homes that I saw on the previous block, and I thought, oh, they're not custom. This is the cookie cutter. You just wouldn't have known if you didn't drive around the neighborhood and drive through the entire neighborhood. So it made for a really good blend, I think. Okay. The other thing that we hear from developers a lot is, well, this is one product type that I'm building, but I gotta buy a completely separate piece of property in a different zone to do a different product. This gives them the opportunity to pretty much put most products, at least single family products, all in one area.
Yeah.
And then if they get the R3A or R3S, it gives them the ability to do all products, all housing products. Okay. The other documents I just handed out to you guys, if you wouldn't mind hanging on to these until next Monday. I don't know if you looked at your calendar, but I stole your guys' time next Monday morning to drive down to Utah Valley
Saw that.
to look at the projects that the planning commission looked at a couple of months ago. So one of the things I noticed as we
Next
were,
Monday,
yeah, on Monday morning, so it should be on your calendar. We'll just jump in the 16 passenger van or whatever that van is and
oh, there
head
you
down
go.
there and
Keeps getting bigger.
the 35 passenger van.
Party's growing.
Look at my calendar, don't
So Jeff and some of the his flagship counterparts are gonna join us up here. They'll ride the train up here. We'll pick them up and we'll head down. He can show you guys the master plan, give you guys the vision for the project, and then we can go see some of the products that they're actually turning out that.
Do we have to go to Utah County?
It's where their other project is.
Okay.
We can, if
Then
you
we
want to,
can
we can
see
find some
what-
other
what
place.
we've
I usually try to
actually
get through there as quickly as possible.
Well, let's make sure we keep our wallets in our pockets and not give them any money. But the planning commission felt like it was a really fruitful field trip for them to take. They actually took the train down, so their commute was a lot longer. But it helped them better visualize
Okay.
what it is that this project is bringing. But as I was talking with Jeff and Cameron and folks from Phoenix and Flagship Homes, I realized that if this project is a good project and it's deserving to be in Western Weaver County, maybe we should be working on our residential zones to allow more flexibility. And that's kind of where the idea came in. These guys were asking for these changes specifically for their project. And my request to them was, if it's good for the goose, it's probably good for the gander. Let's see if we can make it work broadly so that other developers have the same benefit, but also are tied to the same requirements, tied to the same amenities offered to the community. So that's kind of where that idea came from, just to give you guys a little context. Feel free to study through the master plan book before Monday, but just wanted to make sure that was okay with you guys and on your sites.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
okay, I think that's all we have unless.
No, maybe the only thing I'd add is it's been a pleasure working with Charlie and meeting everybody and doing tours and being able to, help Weber County, solve some of the land planning challenges that are out there. I think maybe the one thing I have heard is, it's difficult oftentimes, and I sympathize greatly for jurisdictions because you're trying to solve, a lot of times you get pretty myopic on trying to solve a 10-acre or 20-acre versus a 1,400-acre development. Those are treated very differently. And from a developer's perspective, more often than not, like Charlie said, when we first came in with the application, we just came in and automatically asked for an overlay. Because typically what we're used to is most jurisdictions are just trying to solve for the 10 to 20 acre solutions. And so we just usually come in and ask for overlays and Charlie said, hey, are you game to help? And we said, yeah, absolutely. And so I think what you'll find in this document and the planning commission was some really good conversation about it's a solution across the board.
We don't want to do overlays or spot zoning, do we? I don't.
No, and that's what I'm saying, like, a lot of times what you end up with is, 150 acres or 1,000-acre development, and they're totally different, right? Because they're solving for themselves and that's it. Where this zoning change amendment is really the solution across the board, whether it's 10 acres or 1,000 acres, it's the solution.
It
And
solves, so you don't have to really do an overlay in that case.
correct.
Yeah.
Right, which is exactly what, Charlie challenged us and said, I really prefer not to do an overlay, prefer to do
Mhm.
a help on the zone change, so our, the benefit for us is the zone change amendment gets approved, and then we come in with our community and we're a conforming zone change. That works, we love it, so we're all on board, and it's been a pleasure working with your staff. I think you guys have an amazing staff to work with, and likewise with your planning commission, and we've really enjoyed the conversations we've had with you as well, so.
Thank you.
It's been a treat.
Any other questions? Commissioner
Appreciate
Bolos? Commissioner
None
Faur?
for me.
Thank you for your presentation today.
We'll see you on Monday.
Okay, great.
Can I give you guys one more comment? Just right down the line of what Jeff said. One of my objectives, and I'm hoping that I can speak for you guys on this, is to keep administrative costs down. And right now, our department, smaller department, needs to know everything that's in the Snow Basin Development Agreement and the Powder Mountain Development Agreement and the JDC Ranch Development Agreement and the Nordic Development Agreement. This would just be one more on top of one more on top of one more. It would be really nice if we could just try and keep things as uniform as we can. You'll have to pay less for staff in the long run if we can do that. So that was my.
It's nice having one story
Yeah.
and then
That's right.
sticking to it.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, commissioners, let's change out the room. Christine? You're right back.
Do we have to leave to come back in?
Yes, change out.
Want to switch spots?
Be closer to the candy bowl.
What's left in there? I've taken
Man.
out this stuff.
You guys
Milk
rode
duds are
through that.
gone and,
Is that your favorite?
yeah,
Those are pretty
in
good.
this mix anyway.
So, both of you guys, meeting this morning, one of the problems we have out west, as you know, is power.
Yeah.
So, discussion this morning with the Senate, as we're proposing that they give the same authority to the inland port, and also basically to the counties. What I said, well, if you're gonna give it to inland port, then give it to the county, because we have other areas that can use self-generation.
Yeah,
Right now, we can't do that.
yeah.
So here, they're actually having a meeting this afternoon. Carl Albrecht and Winterton met in it. There's 9 bills right now. They think very likely we can just slip in a section of code that gives, but I want the authority to come back to the county.
Be awesome.
They like it too, because we'll be taking the heat from Rocky Mountain.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah, I love it. I love
But
that.
it gives, because Rocky Mountain's saying, we're gonna give you power in 2035.
Yeah.
It
It doesn't work for us.
Doesn't work.
Not quick enough.
No. Not for a lot of people, unless you got a lot of money like these guys.
Whatever, Gage, I don't have half what you got.
Oh, what?
The pumpkins.
Not talking about any of those.
Oh, that's what makes them good. Better ratio.
100 to 0.
We can
best
pull that
ratio.
off with power out there.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan. They were all. Well, if the county will take it, they will make us the bad guy. We're always the bad guys.
In a lot of people's lives,
But it'd only be Rocky Mountain. But they're not prepared to answer any of the, when can you deliver it, how much?
They like that.
And they won't.
Hide behind that, don't they?
They do.
Almost feels like they don't want to make money.
Yeah. Well, they want to raise your rate 30%.
Yeah.
Oh, you on my spot now too?
Excuse me.
Oh. Sorry.
Well.
Sean steals it from the other side.
You're Gary spreading over here. copies? Here.
Well, this one we can share. John and I are pretty good at sharing. We're good, for the most part, except for space. Yeah.
What did she say this morning?
So she, I don't know if it was you, she misunderstood or not. She said, now, you guys said you're gonna come up and kick the dams down. I said, no, we don't do that. I said, I can get you in contact with the trappers. They're probably not gonna be interested in relocating until next spring. I said, there's probably some other. Just how quickly you wanna be getting after this. She said, well, let me see how bad it is, because there was also another human caused damage that was doing everything more than the beavers were. She's gonna check on that. find out now, and then let me know.
Okay, so that's not one you had seen.
Nope.
Okay.
This new stuff here,
That is, yeah, that's for this discussion.
I respect your opinion. Okay. We're back on, we're commissioners, we're on to item number 4 on our agenda. It's a little after 2 o'clock. Apologize for the delay, but this is a discussion regarding the Taylor Landing General Plan Amendment to rezone applications, an application to amend the general plan to redesignate parks and recreation area to medium large lot residential, and an application to rezone approximately 78 acres of land from the A1 agricultural to the R115 single family residential zone, and approximately 32 acres of land in the A1 agricultural zone to the O1 open space zone. Charlie Ewert, Rick Grover, Sean Wilkinson, Gary Myers, Aaron Robertson, and Sylvia Phillip. And we have Chad Rack Meyerhopper here with us.
Start calling you that.
I like that.
Chad, well, he's got Meshach in the bed. I think it's Shadrach, not Chad. Go ahead, Charlie, we'll start with you again, please.
Okay, just give you the quick presentation. We'll give the planning commission on this one. The property you see up on the screen right now is the property location. We're looking at Taylor Landing subdivision.
Approximately 1,800 south and 3,900 west, right?
That's right, that's right. Just over by the high school. A little bit easier to see the general area from here. High school is right here.
Whoa, wait a second, say that again.
The high school. is
The new
right
high
here.
school, Longhorn? Westfield, I guess.
So you can see the red boundary of the project and its proximity to the high school. 1,800 south on the north side, 2,200 south on the south side, 4,300 west, 3 or 1. Yeah, 4,300 west on the west side.
Yep.
And then we got 3,500 west on the east side. And then in the future, we'll have this project will create 3,900 west, which runs right along this boundary right here and then connects into Stagecoach, which is this project up there. That is what the rezone would look like if approved. So you see the difference right here. We're in the A1 zone. Now we've got O1 for the park and then R115 for the Taylor Landing subdivision. That's phases 1 through 6. And technically, this project does not affect phase 1 through 3 at all. But if you plat this project on the R115 zone, previously the Taylor Landing subdivision was platted under the cluster subdivision ordinance. So if you plat everything else in the R115 zone, it's only gonna be phase 1 through 3 left in that cluster subdivision, which is, it's not gonna be helpful for those landowners in the future. It'd be better, they would be better off just going to the R115 zone. It's gonna be easier for them to comply with the standards in R115 than it will be A1 cluster subdivision. So, and we have, all those landowners were noticed about the potential rezone of the property for the planning commission. So everybody in there at that area should be aware. This is the general plan right now. The area in the general plan that the applicant is requesting to change is in that red polygon right there. That is their phase 4 and 5 open space is inside that red polygon, and phase 4 and 5 of the cluster subdivision. So basically where they're asking for the rezone, they're not asking for a cluster. They're asking that this be pulled out of open space from the cluster subdivision and be allowed to be platted as residences. And you can see if the general plan changes, that's basically what would change on there. The green that you see here is old. That was part of the Winston Park, which that all changed with the Winston Park adjustment. So that's all yellow there. And if you change this to yellow, then we'll have just the park area in green. General plan basically talks about medium to large lot residential density averaging, and advocates for both density averaging, which essentially is what that zone or the code change we were just talking about would do, is create density averaging. As we talked with you guys, that you guys have seen this once before, one of the biggest concerns that we heard from both you and the planning commission is the park donation that they're gonna give to the park, is it enough, or should it be more? We were able to work with the developer and the planning commission on getting more. The developer has generously offered better street connections and pathway connections that would help retrofit phase 4 and 5, which is here, this is 4 right here. And then 5 is this one here. So it would retrofit phase 4 and 5 to meet with our connectivity standards, with those pathway connections. And then they've also offered to give to the park district, the water. There's 2 wells on the property, so there's water rights that go with those wells. They're gonna give to the park district water, coming out of those wells. With that in mind, that's a pretty significant gift, just the water by itself, but then add in the connectivity, and we took it back to the planning commission and they said, okay, seems like you've given us enough. In fact, the planning commission even suggested maybe backing off a little bit on some of the street connections, because we were asking also for some pathway connections. Phase 1 through 3, which is the magenta or cyan, sorry, so the cyan outline here. We were asking for some in there, and the planning commission said, you know, we probably don't need those as much. Let's just focus on getting the connections in 4, in 5, and then the connections in the new proposed phase 6. So the planning commission felt like it was proportionate to allow this development to move forward, to pull the phase 6 out of open space in exchange for all these street connections, pathway connections, as well as the park land donation and water donation. The park district, you guys may have gotten some correspondence from the park district recently. Give you all those. I think they were okay with the deal without the water. Planning commission wanted to make sure they got the water. And so the park district has given us a statement. They're really eager to get the property. I don't know if anyone's driven out on 1800 recently, but the park district is turning dirt. They've got a land use permit for a parking lot and a pavilion. And they're gonna start doing a little more. If you look at the page on the back, that's really small, you can see their master plan for the park, which planning commission had some concerns about the park district not knowing what to do with the donation or the money. But the park district said, we know exactly what we want to do, and it's already been designed by a civil engineer. We're ready to start pulling the trigger. They're going to develop it in phases. Their first phase is a parking lot and a pavilion, but they really have their sights set on this property donation, because without the property donation, this obviously would need to change, because right now they only have 10 acres, but with the donation, they'll have 32 acres. So they want this to be essentially a regional park complex for the area. So with that in mind, the 2 sheets of paper that are in front of you guys, you can just see, this is the aerial with the polygon around the project area. And then this one is just that street connectivity that the planning commission landed on with the developer. So the planning commission recommended approval of the project. Any questions for me on that?
Commissioner Bolos?
Yeah,
Questions?
question.
Comments?
Can you tell me what this would look like if we weren't changing the general plan map?
Yeah, so without changing the general plan map, the park district would own that piece right there
Okay,
and nothing else. This area here would be in open space, but it'd be privately owned open space. So a farmer or horse pasture or somebody can come in, they just couldn't build on it. And then the rest of it would essentially look exactly like that. So the difference, if you don't change the general plan map, this project here would stay agricultural open space. This area here would stay agricultural open space, and the park district would have that 10-acre piece, which they already do.
And how big is this total?
They're 32. Give or take. I say give or take because the residence is right here on 1800. The applicant is in negotiation with them to kind of square up their properties. So they
All the
might-
way across?
I don't know if it's gonna square all the way across. Sorry, I didn't understand you're all the way across.
Like all the way across to 1800?
Yeah, I think it's mostly these two properties over here.
So not this notch,
The shallow ones,
Yep, the shallower
not
ones.
this.
that'd be a parking lot, wouldn't
Not,
it?
not those, but these
Well,
ones
it'd be the
over
park
here, these
district,
two.
yeah.
Where are they putting their parking lot?
So
Pavilion?
there's one parking
Right
lot and
here.
pavilion going in right here.
Here.
Uh-huh, and then if you look at their master plan, they're also proposing a parking lot and pavilion over here, and then where these guys would build, they'd put a parking lot and pavilion over here too. So 3 different ones for the project.
That's all my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Faur, any comments or questions?
Yeah, so I've had more than one discussion with some people in the park district. They're very excited about having this size of park. But my question goes to the water rights. Obviously, I've been told there's well rights that go with this.
There's 2 wells that are on the property. And a little bit more of the detail on that, those 2 wells were supposed to be transferred with the property and were not.
That's what I heard.
And the owner of those, or the 2 people that could have claim on those wells is either us through purchase of the property, because water rights go with the property if not severed, or 2, the probate son of the deceased that previously owned it. So in our case, we're working with them to give them that squaring off that property, saying, hey, whether you have it or we have it, we're gonna give you some property and we're gonna have it. And then all the water right that exists in those wells will then pass on to the Parks District.
Okay, because that water can't be used anywhere else.
Well,
It's, it's a pertinent water. Is it Weaver Basin water?
And I think it's water right that's well, when we were looking at it, that water could be used, that point of diversion could be moved, is when we're looking at it, but we haven't looked at it much more than the fact of giving it to the Parks District, so.
Okay,
I thought it was a right, not a share, but I could be wrong.
It is a right, it's not a share.
so it may be a historical right.
There's 2 wells and both of them are historical rights.
Okay, so you could change the point of diversion going through the state engineer, but more than likely that's. And if, so is it the Ropalatos we're dealing with? So if they sign off on it, then it shouldn't be a question. I don't think.
Correct.
Okay, well, I know they're they've already done some drawings on the parks, as you can see, so. I just wanted to make sure that we were secure in saying you've got water, do we really have wet water?
Yes,
Okay, that's. Because that's a great amount of, that's a good spot of dirt, but you gotta have some water to run a park.
that's right.
Do you have any, production numbers on what those wells produce?
We do have some, we're trying to identify, some of the water's already been given to the upper irrigation.
Okay.
So we're trying to identify how much is left and how much is there still to be given. We don't have that number yet.
Okay,
We're working with a water law attorney to get some more definite numbers.
The wells, one of them was pretty small, the other one was actually very significant. It was water in that whole region.
yeah, so my main question is, at the end of the day, let's just I'd wanna make sure that there's enough water that can go into the park and not committed to upper irrigation or somebody else.
Yeah, we'll,
Anyway,
whatever's there will be given to the park, how much the park needs versus how much is there remains to be seen based on both what the park needs and on their design, how much of that is horse corral and parking that doesn't need water.
right, yeah,
And how much we actually end up having left, so I don't have numbers for either side, whatever's there, we're giving to the Parks Department.
okay, all right. Okay, that's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Great.
Does that prompt you to have any others?
No, I had this conversation with Charlie before about the parks. And the plan for the parks. So everything I'm reading says that the neighbors want to see a larger park here and they're willing to trade that for more housing. Right?
Mhm.
They've been notified.
Yep.
The park district wants it, the planning commission wants it. Why isn't it on the general plan? That's my big hang up.
Yeah.
Because we have to go through this exercise every time
Every single time.
and connect all the dots, make sure everyone's okay with it.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's a park district issue where I need them to pin down where they want these, that 32-acre park, that's a great park.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they have pieces designated all over Western Weaver County, and then we have to come back to the table, connect all the dots with all the parties. So everyone approves, so we can change the general plan.
Yeah,
That's a lot of work.
challenging. Yes, I agree. It is challenging.
That's my concern. We're just, and I like the product. I do, I think it's great, but it just makes it really taxing.
Yeah.
To go through all of this.
When the general plan, I don't know if it'll help to explain this for a little bit, when the general plan was being created, that was one of the subjects we discussed. You got a bunch of open space in these cluster subdivisions that is individually held, private property. It's just open space, you can't build on it. When we asked the planning commission what color they want to color it on the map, they said, let's color it as open space and recreation, like what it is right now. So, well, then if you want to change it in the future, that's gonna be a general plan amendment every single time you want to change it. And the response I got, which I didn't think was an illogical response, I thought it was a great response. They said, good, it should be harder for the developer. Because these were set aside as open space parcels under a specific code that we have. And it should be more challenging to change. So I think that's with design, but I am very sympathetic because, yeah, I'm here with you trying to get through it. But it is very challenging.
Will it keep happening?
I think we've got 2 more coming, potentially.
2 more because we're trying to create larger parks. Or what?
2 more because we've got a couple of developers who are in a cluster subdivision that might be targeting the open space as potential development area in exchange for better park contribution.
Or would that be?
And then it will go to the park district and they'll say, do you want this or not? Where will we put the money?
Yeah.
How, just, it's this whole circus every time we want to do it. You know, I mean, that's frustrating.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about some general plan adjustments, relatively big ones coming up in the near future with the Gibson property. We can certainly maybe tag something onto that.
I would really like that. And there's one that's just down the street from this that we talked about a couple months ago and we haven't seen it come back. They probably backed out.
That one did come back, the general plan amendment. Sorry. Down the street the other
When I
direction.
talked to the one that made you go get a letter from all the surrounding, that one.
So they did come in, I think you might have been gone on that particular day. So the general plan got changed. And then a couple of weeks later, you guys did approve their development agreement and the rezone. It hasn't been signed yet by the developer,
Well,
so.
because there were some asks in there that they weren't really happy about.
Yep.
And to be honest, neither are the neighbors, because now they're looking at, oh, if this developer doesn't go through with this, then we have open space, AKA a patch of weeds behind our houses versus something green.
Yeah, I
So neither side is gonna be happy and
agree.
there won't be additional park money. I don't know, that's,
I tried to tell you.
My guess is that we'll probably be talking to them again because they've got some asks before they sign the development agreement, so.
so I'm sure they do. Anyway, but it sounds like that was the intent when the general plan was adopted, which predates me. So I can't really speak to that, but if that's the intent, then can we fix it?
Yes, and
Thanks. So to that point, commissioners, are you wanting to open up the general plan and relook at quite a bit? Is this something we need to put additional budget money aside for during our budget process right now? I mean, are we going to that extent or what are your thoughts?
For me, I just want a conversation with the park department,
Okay,
the park district. Saying, what's your intent? if I'm looking at the general plan map, does that reflect your intent? Because if it doesn't, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
That's really, it's really for me about the park
Okay,
district,
all right.
and my understanding is they didn't really have a direction when the general plan was adopted. They didn't know quite where they wanted things and how big they wanted things, and
Yeah.
that seems to be the catalyst for the issue when you come back and have to readjust this.
Yeah, and from planning perspective, I would love to see the map actually reflect where they would like to see parks go. One of the challenges they've mentioned to us is as soon as it's on the map saying we're gonna target
Yeah,
these
for sure.
guys' property, then all of a sudden
It's true.
the money
It's
changes.
true, that's a factor. It's true. And maybe it just looks different from the trade-off perspective where it's still open space, but it could be turned into a park location with a trade-off. I don't know. Cause the alternative for these other phases is really a patch of weeds right here, right?
Mhm.
And a little strip of green. Like,
Yep.
I get that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I've made that same point myself too. If you designate the location, it makes it more expensive, but I don't know what the answer is. I just don't like continuing to revise general plan.
Over and over, yeah. I hear you. Well, we can see what we can do on maybe making some pretty simple adjustments, so it's not a very expensive one with the general plan.
And even if they don't designate locations, maybe they designate how many parks they want, or what we want, 32-acre parks, or something like that, to where,
They have kind of done that. They've got a park master plan.
We do, yeah.
And the park master plan does suggest a certain number of parks within a certain distance of every front door. I think it says even 1 5-acre park within half a mile of every front door. We actually presented that, I don't know if we presented that to you guys or to the planning commission, but I think it was to the planning commission. And if we take the map and we show one park every half a mile of the front door, that was a lot of
yeah,
parks. A
and
lot more
they're
parks than our
small,
district.
and nobody wants that.
Yep, that's
Too many
the
parks.
issue. That's right.
The bigger ones are way, and when all of this incorporates or gets annexed, that's what those cities are gonna want, is
Yep.
larger parks, places, yeah, destination parks.
Agree.
I don't know what the answer is, honestly, because I get it, the alternative to this housing is weeds. None of these other phases wanna see that, so I don't know what the process would be. To me,
It's a great point.
I'm making all these points that can't be resolved, sorry. I'm
No, but
sorry.
it's good to hear them. It's good to get them on the table because we can, as we bat the ideas around in our head, we might be able to find some solutions.
Well, I think we've got an opportunity coming up, assuming, depending on what happens with the Gibson property. And when I met with the planning commission leadership last week, I said, if we need some tweaks there, we're gonna look out west. I think we need to revisit the general plan, because what I'd like to do is, it looks like things are going out west, but the Gibson's going, that gives us the opportunity to maybe, backtrack on some of these smaller 10, 20, 30-acre parcels like we talked about. I think we really need to revisit it now. What extent, I don't know, but what I'd like to do, if that looks like that's gonna get legs, which it appears it will, then we should really sit down and, okay, and you overlay that with, excuse the word overlay, but with what we've got coming out with Legacy that will have, so we've got to deal with Legacy that I don't think we had the correct information on, or at least we didn't have accurate information when we did that general plan.
Yeah.
If you put both those things on the table, I think we have to look at making some
Adjustments.
changes.
Sure.
And I agree with Commissioner Bowles, so I just don't want to do this every time.
Mhm.
But with that coming in with Legacy, we have those three things basically understood that we at least got a clear direction on. I think we can take a look at some of this other, coloring maps and say, this really makes more sense for it to be this.
I'm with
You know what I'm saying?
both of them, but I'm gonna go as far as, yeah, you should probably put some money in.
Yeah, and I'm
the
not,
General plan, that's where we really are, because none of us want to do this spot type stuff.
But a big piece of that is legacy, though, that's what we're facing,
A
and we don't
big
know
piece
where
is
that's
legacy.
located. We don't know,
And it's still not decided.
I know,
We have a better idea.
well, I think we're getting closer.
Yeah,
We're getting closer.
and will we be able to influence that by where we have planned development?
I think commissioners, you guys have a lot of influence on where that can go.
I mean, if there's a preservation alley.
Well, the
then-
federal government, there's right too, the federal government's gonna come, and if we have a preservation alley with some of those others, you're gonna have to get with Carlos and we're gonna have
Sorry,
to,
those,
we're gonna have to get that going.
well, we know bought a piece, so the Game Changer last couple months, they just bought a
About 43 acres.
40+ acres out west.
Where, what, west?
Along the alignment that we've planned
Along that,
with them.
so
Yeah.
we need to, that's gotta be resolved,
67?
You
that's
know,
gotta be resolved this legislative session.
How
At
far?
least in my
Well,
opinion.
you know what we need to do is we need to get a lobbyist in there to do something.
Well, if you'd up your ante a little bit, instead of expecting free labor, you play carpet.
It's right where those split.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so
Hold on.
Which one?
Hold on.
Yeah, I mean, their effort, like,
Just a second.
in my time in West Haven, anytime anything sold along 5100 West. UDOT bought those, you
Yep.
know what I mean? So it's changed, it's gone further west now, but
so
my
What's this
question
one,
is, if we
Sean?
plan
What-
that.
Where are we?
700 north.
that's 700 north.
Yeah, let me zoom out a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I know where you are. Cause there we go there, yeah.
So the purple line is their proposal,
There are two purple lines.
See, and we
Yeah,
prefer,
they
a-
split,
we prefer.
but the one
prefer
to
more
the east is
western
the one
lane.
that they're focused on.
700.
We want it a little bit farther west.
Yeah, 6400, we'd like it even.
So it's completely off 5100 now. See?
As far as we
Yeah,
know.
so they'll probably sell those properties after they
No, no,
make a
sorry,
designation.
let me zoom out just a little bit. Here's 5100 through West Haven and Hooper,
Hooper.
and then it deviates here. So this is,
Oh, so they still got that.
yep.
Yep.
So that's the one that they've been planning on and that we made our plan around. The rub here for UDOT is if they went to the federal government to get it funded,
Yeah.
they'd have to do the environmental process. And the environmental is they balance vehicle trips based off of the environment, right? How many vehicle trips is this freeway going to have? And that's how we justify going through these wetlands over
Sure.
here. And what they're telling us is this far west, that we're not gonna have the vehicle trips that justify going through the wetlands right here. So if we were to put together like an environmental study right now, it would just tell us it's not justified and that it's gotta come further to the east. But if we wait a little bit, wait until we get the inland port operating here with the promontory. Maybe the developers that we just talked to in the last work session, doing some development here, I think we'll have the
Yeah,
numbers
so
at
it
that.
seems like if we preserve our own corridor,
That's my
then
suggestion.
it saves a lot of money to follow that corridor. If we see it coming. But I don't know, I don't spend the state money, so maybe they like to waste money on buying new houses
And tearing them down.
and tearing them
I don't
down.
care as much as we do, but
Well, Gary showed me a really cool tool the other day that he has. It's got a big tines in the front. It eats the trees all the way
Beautiful.
down.
It's
That's-
beautiful.
I tell you, UDOT already has one of those. It eats the houses
They do.
all the way down to the dirt and then spits out asphalt behind.
but tell them your idea that we could start developing that ourselves,
Yeah.
not only the corridor, but we
Mhm.
start, if we start that freeway or whatever it's gonna be down that road, and then preserve enough right away,
For the
every
expansion,
edge.
yeah.
then we kind of direct our traffic and we don't get involved with the fence.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, something we need to have a discussion on.
So, and we'll probably have a really good discussion on that next Monday when on our field trip.
Yeah.
This is a big project here in that little quadrant there.
Yeah.
It'll mean quite a bit of impact, but it's a 50-year project, and so it's not all gonna be built tomorrow. So it'll be a little bit challenging, I think, for you guys to approve it, just because the amount of impact it will cause. However, they will donate the land and they will build half the freeway.
Yeah.
And I think that means everything to the future of this area as well as the port.
We understand it,
And that's why I'm for looking at that whole master
Yeah.
plan. But after we get this thing nailed down on the legacy.
Very good. Anything else for us? Sorry,
that help
we
you,
went over
Sean,
time.
It does.
answer to your question.
I'll talk
You're
to
gonna give me
Scott.
money?
We deviated too.
Well, I'll just talk to Scott and have him put that in as a request and then you can
I think so.
do what you want with it.
Thank you.
I like it.
Okay, any other questions, Commissioner
I don't
Bolos?
think so, I better stop.
Commissioner Brewer, any other questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Staff, do you have any questions?
None from us.
Nope.
Chad didn't say a lot. We didn't hear about sewer.
The Gary likes that.
He's kind of a, he's kind of a Yeah. Mussolini.
Not near as evil as Chad makes me out to be.
He is.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good day. Hold on now, hold on.
This is, yeah,
Just a second.
preemptively.
What are we looking at now?
Oh,
Just a
Commissioner Harvey
second.
needs to introduce me.
Yeah, just you're getting a little
Well,
anxious.
when Charlie
Sure.
runs 15 minutes long, I tend to get a little anxious to get.
We're gonna move now to the discussion regarding speed reductions on 5100 West and maintenance agreement with the Forest Service near Causey Reservoir. Well, you've certainly gone from one end of the county to
Yeah.
the other.
We're gonna cover a little bit in between as well.
Item 5, go ahead.
All right, so commissioners, as you're very much aware, on the bottom of this little map image I handed to you, there's a new elementary school that's been built down there. As a result, we're seeing a lot of kids wandering around out there. Hooper met with Sergeant Slater. Is it Sergeant or Lieutenant Slater? I forget his title. Patty Slater, they met with him as well as West Haven, and they requested they're working to lower their speed limits to make it safer for the kids out there. In tandem, kind of working with them, they reached out to us to see if we'd be willing to lower the speed limit on 5100 West out there right now. Currently, it's posted at a 35-mile-an-hour road. There are kids that in theory could walk down that road to the school. So they requested if we'd be willing to lower it to 30 miles an hour out there on 5100 West. Quite honestly, that's only a 5-mile-an-hour drop from what we are posted. I feel like that's really a good thing for the safety of the kids and, people, 30 miles an hour is plenty fast enough when you got those homes with kids wandering around on the roads. Any issues with that, commissioners? Are you okay with that move?
Do they plan to increase
with
it
it,
once they have sidewalk over there?
Probably not, just because you're gonna have, it's interestingly enough, there's a lot of kids wandering through that without sidewalk out there. They've got some
I know.
kind of temporary paths they put together with milled asphalt that's kind of holding together, and it's amazing how many moms with wagons I've seen wandering down that. So I don't think their intentions are to raise it ever, and quite honestly, that's probably okay.
Aren't the two interconnecting roads 30 anyways?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just said you have this crossroad, but the main roads are 30 anyway.
Where are they
That's right.
30?
3,300.
30?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And it drops to 30 after you pass 3,300
when you turn the other side, yeah.
So
I mean, my kids aren't going to Fremont anymore, so. Just kidding.
so that's
They've
one.
had a couple tickets over there.
Oh, have they really? Did they get cited? That's one of the roads. If you flip to the second page, this was an issue brought up to us, and I think Commissioner Frower is gonna be very much aware of this. This is up by the monastery. It's actually Commissioners at 8600 East up there where it leaves.
Starts at 8600 and just kind of weaves around.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bends and turns in there. We would like to lower this speed on the road is currently posted as 30 miles an hour.
Although there's an interesting story.
Yeah, and I'll let Joe kind of speak to that story. He learned a little bit more about that.
Joe knows.
You're a previous employee that lived on that road.
I think I know who you're talking about.
When
right
he
off the bat.
retired, took a couple 30s and put on that road. We
So
found out. I just.
it actually,
French name?
it actually is 25, but
Oh,
that person put
Yeah.
signs up and changed
erroneously.
it to
why
30.
didn't that surprise me?
On our
So-
inventory, everything has that road at 25.
So it should be 25.
Remember that meeting when I said it should be 25 and you said it's not, it's 30. I just.
Gary was embarrassed. They said I was by there yesterday. It's got 8:30 in a black and white right there.
Yeah. Very nice.
So yeah, that's why there was a.
Really?
We'll get it back to 25. Yeah.
But as far as the signage, Gary, do you want to talk about?
That's funny.
Yeah, so up there, as you can see, commissioners, there's a lot of bends and turns in that road. Most of them being 90 degrees or pretty darn close to it. We've looked at it and we do have signs indicating curves ahead. Short of putting in LED flashing signs, which we don't like to do because those tend to get hit the minute you put something in that's a costly sign like that. We feel like keeping this down around 25 miles an hour actually should help people in the navigating of those turns. And then, eventually as we get over to the monastery, it does tick up a little bit. I think it would get up to 30 miles an hour that road
Once you get
continues.
around that last curve, you're fine.
Yeah, you're good. We just don't want people getting carried away, going a little too fast, as they go north, but. You know, there's some personal responsibility people have to exercise in driving their vehicles as well too.
So this came out as a request from Kelly Waynesguard and the Waynesguards and a
And
couple other people who live on that road.
so our signs show multiple 90-degree bends rather than a 90-degree bend for each turn. We kind of combine them. Is that what you're alluding to, Sean? That-
Yeah.
Yeah, so the more signs you have out there, the more signs there are to get hit by hay wagons, snow plows, you name it. And the roads are actually very narrow roads. So we're trying to minimize costs, and not build a sign farm out there if we don't have to.
The worst,
essentially.
the worst one is right there at Kelly Waynesguard.
Yeah,
Where it takes that sharp left and then a sharp right.
that's right.
And people tend, when they're going south, tend to cut that corner just because the road's so narrow.
Yeah.
In fact,
So,
me and
yeah,
Sean were coming that way and had to stop almost because there was
There
There was
big,
no
big
room
dump
for it.
truck coming.
Oh, yeah, if you
There's
get a
no
dump truck
room for us
coming,
to-
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
We've wrecked multiple wheels on those rocks that they have on that. Have you noticed the rocks that they have?
Waynesguards?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they've been there forever.
Yeah, on our dump trucks, when we're plowing snow or something,
Oh,
we'll hit them on the back and wreck our tires and that, so.
Oh, they're.
I don't
they're
think
big
Kelly
rock.
would be too
Oh,
in
big
tune to
rock.
selling us
Big
anything, would he?
I don't think so.
No,
He probably is pretty
Well, the
proud of those
next,
roads.
so let's, when you have you talked to Kelly yet?
I did reach out to him. We've traded voicemails. I'd missed him last.
So maybe
week.
the next time, I'd call, say, we're gonna drop that to 25, but, oh, by the way, what if we took 10 or 15 or 20 feet of your front yard? Would you be, that will help a lot.
I'll tee it up to him and see what he says.
You know, he's gonna be a no vote, but at least say, hey, looks like the best solution is to cut that corner.
Doesn't hurt to ask, Commissioner.
Now,
Yeah,
we'd set some big multiple,
Yeah.
but if the corner were cut, then you could set multiple.
farther
yeah.
back.
I'll ask it.
And
I'll
it
ask
saves
him
our
and see what he
tires on
says.
on our dump trucks.
Yeah. Once a year, we have to get a tire.
Anyway, he'll just say, hey, this is an idea.
Yeah, yeah, and he can always say no.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Last page on there, commissioners, if you flip over to that one. This area, we've had a lot of discussions about this historically and kind of have a great recommendation for you. The areas that I've got highlighted, which is essentially just east of the elementary school, all the way through Old Town Eden and all the way up to essentially the LDS church, north of the junior high up there. We'd like to change that speed limit to 30 miles an hour.
What is
and
it now?
40.
Okay.
And this is particularly that hard bend as you get close to the reservoir, commissioners. We've had some complaints about speeding and individuals just not operating very, very safely. Along with that, you add into there the future development we have coming in the area that's already been approved, with development of businesses as well as residences. It feels like we're getting real close to the time to drop that speed limit to a more manageable speed. That way, people really, those long sections of road, it's pretty easy to get your vehicle going a little faster than you should, and you've got a park right there. You've got future and existing businesses that are already accessing off the road.
And a
So,
pool on each end.
and bookended by a school. Thank you, Sean. So, yeah, that was our intent here, is to just keep it all at a manageable expected 30 miles an hour. And hopefully.
You're gonna
appreciate it.
drop it before the elementary?
Yep,
Okay.
we'd go back there a couple 100 feet before it, and then that's where our last sign is, and that's where we.
Because people, there's already a reduction there for the school zone.
Yep.
Right.
If they reduce it there prior to the school, then just
Yep.
keep it consistent.
Exactly. School zone loves this idea, or school district loves this idea, as you can imagine. Yeah, we feel like it's a really good option for
That
everybody.
makes a lot of sense.
So,
So you're okay with a 10-mile-an-hour drop in that area then?
That's a lot, but Cage, you know that area better than anybody.
That's a big drop, but it probably, because of that one, if it didn't have that 190-degree, then, well, you got that 90-degree and one just down the
Yeah,
road.
yep.
If you didn't have those 90 degrees, I'd say no, but And if you go from a 30 back up to a 35 or 40 and then I think it's, I
Yeah,
hate to say it, but it makes more sense to stay consistent.
that's what we were thinking.
That's-
So we initially thought maybe we'll end
I-
it sooner or change it, but you're right.
All you're gonna do is
Keep
make
it
people
better.
mad, so,
Yep.
you know, and they're gonna go 200 yards or less and have to change speeds again.
Exactly.
So I don't personally like it, but I think it's better for the public, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely our recommendation, commissioners, and, you know, as always happens whenever we make changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's uncomfortable for people, but really it's for the overall.
I think in
safety.
general, most people, especially people in that area will like, you know, be in
Yeah,
favor of it.
yeah, I think so too.
We'll go through the appropriate process to make those changes.
Isn't it 50?
It's 50.
East of
it is.
there.
Or
it is.
30?
Yep.
Is that legal? Can you drop it 20 miles an hour?
Well, and we did
Yeah.
do a preliminary speed study on this, which did have this recommendation.
Oh,
Yeah, but
okay.
if
I thought
you
you
go
had to
back
go.
to Joe, can you drop it?
We're not dropping the 50, we're dropping the 40.
40.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
you're
but
gonna
you're
go
gonna
from
drop,
50 to 30.
you're gonna go
Do we
from
have to go
50
to
to
like,
30.
do we have to go like a half mile up the road and go 50, 40, 30?
Oh, I don't.
oh, I'll take a look into that, Joe. That's a good question.
I
I'll
think
take a
you
look
do.
into that. I think you do. I think you do have to have a,
So we might have to go.
Sequential
I think you can go from
States.
55 to 40, but you can't go from,
that's okay,
50.
because really doing that, and that's actually a good point, Joe. If we go back a little earlier and start some of the deceleration, that way it's not such an overall shock to people as they get to where we lower it in front of the school right there.
Maybe
So,
back to the church.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
You could go back closer to the church there.
yeah,
drop it to 40.
Right.
go- yeah. I'll take a look and see what that recommendation is,
I
so.
have to watch my speed.
Yes.
Hey, we told you this time.
I was just getting ice cream the last time we ran into this, on a Sunday afternoon. My ice cream.
those
Milton
emergencies
wanted to get a
happen.
ticket.
Couldn't eat it while you were getting the ticket?
Oh, I heard.
I
should have.
remember that.
All
That
right,
was a long time ago.
That was.
and then the last thing to cover, though, the second part of this meeting, commissioners. I have the only copy that's been, I have electronic copies I can share with you, but in my hands is an agreement that was drafted between, kind of a three-way agreement between Forest Service, us, and Bureau of Reclamation for the operation and maintenance of the road to Causey Reservoir. Basically where it leaves Highway 39 all the way east to the reservoir. Ever since probably, Joe, what would you say, 60s, maybe even 50s? The county's been maintaining that road and plowing it, keeping the asphalt going, all of that. There really was nothing in place to orchestrate us doing the operation and maintenance of this road. So this agreement was drafted. It's been reviewed by Federal Highways oversight and attorneys. Cortland's been involved in the drafting and language that's been put together for it.
The review, I didn't have anything to do with.
Oh,
the
sorry,
draft.
just the review. My
It came
apologies.
from the federal government to us and we reviewed it,
Yeah.
so.
And the recommendation we would have for you is for you guys to go ahead and sign this, because it's something we've been doing really for the benefit of our residents here at the county, because you've got the folks that live up at Causey Estates, you've got the recreationists, all of that. So.
Plus, we need it for this federal land.
Yes,
project that we have going
gotta
on.
have-
thanks,
That's
Bill.
where it came out.
That cleans it up because we didn't really have clear title, all that, so. I'll leave this with, well, I guess it would be Chair Harvey now.
This is the original you got in the.
This is the original that showed up this week, and I'll ask for your autograph. Does this need to go on an official commission meeting, Portland?
Mr. Ambassador,
Well, it is a contract that we're entering into, so yeah, typically we
Okay.
would have it go through a commission.
Okay.
meeting.
We'll do that.
I'll have it on next Tuesday's commission meeting, and then we'll have you autograph it then, if that's okay.
give it to Shelley.
Got it. Okay, any questions on this, commissioners, or?
Commissioner Bolos, Commissioner Thor, any
Not
questions?
for me.
Okay, that'll do. That'll do.
Fantastic.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to saunter for 5 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Commissioner, check out the bridge on your way home. I sent 'em up
bridge
there to
today?
I sent them up there to asphalt.
Oh.
the apron. So hopefully it'll be all right.
They could see where that was kind of hitting against it.
Yeah.
I sent a couple newer guys, so hopefully it looks good and they've done a good
I'll
job.
let you know. I'll check it tonight.
Let me know, and then I ordered timbers to redeck some of that bridge deck.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah, some of that wood was just
We are gonna go into closed session to discuss the character competence and of an individual. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go into closed session. session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to come out of closed session, all in favor?
Aye.
My motion carries. Let's go ahead and change out the room again. And we'll have Tucker Waite, Gary Myers, Sean Wilkinson, and Cortland Erickson. Cortland, not Cortland.
What was mine?
Yeah,
I thought I did them all last week.
no, that's an extra stack.
All right.
Happy birthday.
Did you get one from us, Gage?
How are you? You like what?
Did you get one from us?
I don't think so. No, I never signed my own, so.
Just want to be on the right side of the law. You're. All those questions you can ask.
Remind me, I got a story to worry about that later.
Okay, this is a discussion regarding a change order for 12th Street. Really?
I told you.
I told him not to worry about anything. He said Harv's gonna give it to us.
Well, the last time we sat in here, you said there'd be no more change orders.
This is the next phase, Commissioner. That
Oh.
statement does not apply to the current phase, just the previous phase. And we're just
How
getting,
convenient, what a convenient answer that is.
and we're just getting started, so there's probably gonna be some more.
The good thing is this one is not for us. It's for the Weaver Basin water line, so it's not coming out of our pocket.
But still.
Feel good, you're passing on to Weaver Basin,
Yeah.
dang it.
No, Commissioners, do you wanna cover it, Tucker? Do you want me to?
Am I okay to talk? for you?
Please,
Okay.
by all means.
Yeah, so, this is for the water line. They found a lot more water than what I guess that they originally thought they would. And so the spec called for sand to be the bedding material, but sand and just water don't mix very well, so that it went to a 1-inch rock. So it costs more. So that's all this change order is just for the bedding material to get the pipe in a better situation. This will be on your, I think it's on consent tomorrow. For a commission meeting, to get formally approved. And there's a whole bunch of correspondence between us and Weaver Basin approving this, so. They approved it, and then just with the way our contract with them is, our agreement with them is everything comes through us, so that's the only reason you're seeing it.
No. Questions?
Wow.
Wow,
Start sweating.
that's a really quick response, Commissioner.
Commissioner
Are
Floyd.
you gonna say questions?
No, I gotta talk to Weaver Basin Board about this, but they must know that we're pretty cheap around here, so. Well, they've got more money than we do, so,
Thanks for bringing it to us before it appears
yeah, no.
at commission meeting.
Since we're a little ahead of schedule, can I bring one other issue
Oh, that's
up that's
convenient.
been brought to our attention, Commissioners? I have a handout for you. I wish I didn't, but I do. So as we speak, there's a project taking place by Wolf Creek Water and Sewer, where they're installing a supply line that will be for the sewage treated effluent to run north up past the golf course up to where the new holding pond's going to be north of the golf course.
Right.
As their construction has been taking place, what essentially has happened is the act of trenching through the very north end of Patio Springs Drive, 700 feet roughly, approximately. 300, yeah, I was a little over on my estimate, about 300 feet. The top 300 feet of the road has essentially been pulverized, if you will, and it's completely we call it an alligator cracking, but basically it's just crumbled the surface of the road. That road really hasn't seen this much heavy traffic, well, since I've been here at the county, and who knows how long, probably since it was built. In looking at it, we determined that the way the road was built probably wasn't up to what our current standards are. So, rather than just put a bunch of fresh new asphalt down, we actually went out and got bids to build it correctly so that the road will be.
An R&R?
Yeah, exactly, full R&R. And so we, in cooperation with Wolf Creek, they talked to their contractor, we pinged a few other contractors. The lowest bid we came up with to redo it all, full removal, full replacement, is in front of you at $82,000. The challenge is, how do we approach the share there? Because there's arguments both sides to this issue that the road worked fine before their project started, but they also have the argument that if it was built correctly, it wouldn't have just fallen apart and fallen to pieces the way it was. In talking with Sean, he recalls an instance we ran into a few years ago when Commissioner Jenkins was still here, where we ended up doing the split as kind of a 70-30 approach, where the county covered 70% of the cost. The district would cover 30% of the cost. Originally, before Sean brought that to my memory, I had discussions with the district about a 50-50 split. They were originally okay with that. This actually split that Sean's referring to, which he was invited to this. I think he's probably just held up outside, but works out a little better for them. If we go with that split, the cost share works out to be about almost $58,000 for us and $25,000 for the district. Otherwise, it'd be about a $41,000
Why
share.
wouldn't we save the other 17,000?
Yeah, why wouldn't we if they're
Yeah.
agreeable to that?
Well, the challenge is the issue we ran into before, and I don't recall exactly where the road was, commissioners, but it was something that the county was kind of on the hook for, because we should have caught it initially when the road was initially installed. This road was installed 20 years ago, probably, maybe even a little longer than that. So it predates probably all of us sitting here at this table when the road was constructed.
Predate me.
Employment at the county, sorry, employment at the county. My apologies, Commissioner. It predates all of our employment here at the county, and why it was installed incorrectly, I really don't have a good answer for you. But as we looked at the asphalt that was crumbling, underneath our feet when we were out there on site a little while ago, pull the chunk out and you can see it just wasn't the sub base that the road should have existed as. And so rather than, like I say, we could go back and just put asphalt on it and it probably worked just fine for a short time, but eventually that road's gonna fall apart. And our thought was, let's do it right. Let's do it right the first time.
Commissioner Farrar.
Well, the only issue I have is they were given ARPA funds for that pond.
Mhm.
So if I heard you right from the start, some of this came about because of trenching that for the line to the pond. Am I
Correct.
understanding that correctly?
That is correct. And those ARPA funds were kind of already budgeted out for the different phases of their
Well,
project.
I understand that. It's
Mhm.
two separate buckets of money, but still, it was a project that benefited the district, which had to have some, wear and tear on that road.
Mhm.
I'm, quite frankly, more inclined to just say 50-50. To me, 50-50 is a better split, but
I think so too.
I'm willing to be 2-1 on that, but
Okay.
I mean, we've been pretty darn generous to my friends in the valley.
Mhm.
Not that I have too many on that side of the valley. Anyway,
Yeah.
I would propose we go back at a 50-50. To me, that's, and I understand, but that road's probably close to 25 years.
It's been around a while.
It's been around, maybe 20-25, so I don't know how we, the other thing we could do is play hardball and just say, look, we'll put 1.5 inches asphalt on it, and then you incorporate, you're gonna have, you're gonna inherit the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, which is being a little ornery, but
Well, and keep in mind, commissioners, there's a fair, well, what is there? How many section of road? 3 homes front this section, and we do plow this road
Yeah.
through the winter time, and so
yeah.
we want to make, that's why we're suggesting we go and fully remove and replace, because as we plow that snow and push it up there, it puts a fair amount of wear and tear on that road, and I'd hate to see it fall apart in the winter months
Well, can you
too.
get it done this year?
We're optimistic we can.
That only gives you about another.
You're running out of time
4
here.
weeks.
It's starting to tick away, but the contractor we've talked to on this is currently, as we speak, paving some stuff for us on 4,000 out west, and he's ready to go once we have your approval to spend some money on this.
Okay, on the 50.
Yep.
We got 250/50s, there
Okay.
you go.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
okay on the 50/50. Why would you negotiate 70/30?
Well, and Commissioner Jenkins' stance on that was that if we didn't catch it the first time, that was on us. I wasn't around
I
when
don't
this
think it's
was,
on us if it goes back 20 years.
I know.
I think the one that
I mean.
I do remember
come on.
one
If it
talking.
was
to
2
Jenkins,
years, I
the
could
building-
see.
There it is.
Was the building permit one?
Yeah, last
Yeah.
couple, 5 years even, but.
So I think the one I remember with Jenkins, and maybe there's another one that Sean and Gary referring to, but it was up in Trappers Crossing.
Yeah.
Where there's a building permit and it got destroyed during construction for building for the home. But I think it's because the road was newer that we said, no, it was probably on the county, like we should have caught that sooner. So maybe that's the reasoning. I don't know how, I mean, that road's.
But that was a more recent
Yeah,
incident.
that's the only reason I want that, but there may have been another one that Sean was referring to that I'm not aware of.
Well, has somebody promised the 70/30 or?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing's been promised to them, other than I asked them initially on this. I said, listen, guys, the road worked fine until your guys
Yeah.
destroyed it.
Right.
I said, shame on us for it not being built correctly, but shame on you guys for your guys pulverizing the road. Would you guys be willing to come to the table in a 50/50?
To me, that's 50/50.
And that's where I was at, commissioners, and they took it to their board meeting last week, and obviously, things are really tight. They're spending a lot of money right now on other things. I want to be sympathetic to that, but that's what they had agreed to and approved to do as a cost share. So Sean said, since we had a previous, what's it called, precedence set on a cost share, that's why he suggested the 70/30 split, since we did that previously on another location. And for the life of me, I can't remember where that was at the moment, Commissioner. I
Well, it doesn't,
apologize.
at 25 years old, it really did, to me, it doesn't matter where it is.
That's how I-
50/50 is fine.
That's how I view
Okay.
it.
You got to deal at 50/50 if it's something more.
Okay, we're
I
gonna.
just assume doing overlay is a lot cheaper and.
Yeah, and I certainly wasn't here to argue or battle with you on the share there or anything, but
No.
we're concerned about the road getting fixed prior to the snow starting to settle in on it. It needs to
Sure.
be plowed and
Should be,
maintained. We
yeah.
want good asphalt temperatures. We want to get it done as quick as we can. So we're gonna go ahead and get a contract set in place and hopefully on commission meeting for next Tuesday. And in the meantime, we'll reach out to the contractor and have him start preparing for it so he can do the work once the contract's signed.
Great. I hope we can get it done, yeah.
Yeah, so. Okay, thank you for
Thank you.
consideration of
Thanks.
both those issues. We'll talk to Scott Park about any recommendations where you want the money to come from on this 50/50 share, other than just the general fund.
I don't know if we got
It comes
anything.
out of municipal service.
It's gotta come out
I
of,
mean, I'm sorry,
it's gotta come out of
Yeah.
municipal service.
gotcha.
Cuts into their 3.6 they've got, so
Yeah.
there you go. They would spend, in second thought, spend their money.
Okay, if there's nothing else. Okay, we'll move on. Let's well, what I'd like to do is move right on into the flood control money policy.
Yep.
If they're out there.
You got most of them here in the room.
Yeah, so I was thinking,
We're ready for you.
All the good stuff's done.
Reese is the best one in this.
I don't see Scott Park out there yet.
we can hold up for a second.
Let the record show my agenda
Let
items
the
are
record show.
fast and on time and early and not.
Wow, look at that.
Brooke was invited to this too.
She sure
Super, we're still in our work session on this Monday, October 14th. We'll move on to item 8, which is a discussion regarding the flood control money policy. Gary Meyer, Sean Wilkinson, William George Ross, Cortland Erickson, Scott Hart, Brooke Stewart, Joe Hadley. How about Tucker?
Here.
Okay,
Who do you want to lead this? Me?
well, yeah,
So commissioners, what's it been, 2 years ago that we started collecting a countywide flood control in tax? Is that the best way to label it, Scott?
Yeah, it's a property tax for flood control.
Okay.
Countywide.
And it was put together and assessed. However, at the time, there really wasn't a clear policy put in place as to how we spend that money. So every time we go to spend any of it, there's always a lot of internal back and forth as to, does this qualify? Where does this water generate from? Is it a valid use with the money that's being collected, the way it's collected? And so as a response to that, the suggestion was made that Cortland, in his wisdom, put together a policy that helps us kind of clarify and identify uses. Is that the best way of putting it, Cortland? And so with that, I'll kind of let him walk us through this real quickly. We've got a hard copy there in front of you. If you'd like, we can send you electronic to review later afterwards as well too, but take it away.
Okay, the idea that was proposed was to have some kind of a procedure that would be similar to road funding requests that go through a WACOG subcommittee. So the policy basically says we will have these funds reviewed and recommended by a WACOG subcommittee that would be, put together by WACOG, staffed with at least one county employee or officer in addition to whoever WACOG designates. Applications could be made by any local political subdivision, any city, or the county itself could submit applications to this subcommittee to review. The subcommittee would go through all of those and they would consider under number 7 on page 2, they would have to at least consider any objective information supporting the need for the project, including any professional studies that have been done, the impact and benefit of the project compared to other projects, and then the areas of the county that would benefit from the project. This would be done at least annually, and then they would provide their recommendations for funding to the county. But under paragraph B on page 2, there's section B, the county commission would retain the sole discretion to either accept or reject those proposals from the WACOG subcommittee, as long as the flood control funds are used for a purpose authorized by state law. The policy says typically those decisions would be made during the annual budget process, but in addition to that, you could authorize use of the funds, again, as long as it's in compliance with state law for any urgent needs that come up, even if they were not identified in the budget specifically. That way you retain the flexibility if things come up during the year that were not foreseen to be able to use these funds. And they can be done, using county employees. We could also use them for paying for contracts with other governmental entities or private contractors, as long as, again, they comply with any applicable laws and policies. So that's it in a brief nutshell. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk about that. We've also got the experts here. So,
Commissioner Fawn.
I like it. Have a committee, make recommendation. The recommending body, we make the final decision, or the county commission makes the final decision, so, and which really, in my opinion, it should be. But I like the ability to bring other players in to give recommendations from the cities, yeah.
and the county engineer is given a role.
Yeah.
in specifically participating in your deliberations by providing his recommendations as well after you receive the WACOG recommendations.
Great, Commissioner Bolos.
At one glance, I don't see this, so let me know if it's in here. I'm curious as to whether this is just preventative projects or would it ever be used for like, if they're currently flooding and they need some kind of mitigation, that would be long-term mitigation, but it's kind of an emergency. And if that's the case, then it wouldn't really fall within a cycle like Brooke uses with the road money. What's the intent of it?
It could be used for that, and that, I believe, falls within the third paragraph under section B on page 2. Talks about urgent
Okay.
needs.
Also, to your question, Commissioner Bolos, we used some of this money to cover the cost for the box culvert that was just replaced this summer under 4,000 west, because that drainage receives runoff from multiple jurisdictions, as well as a lot of the drainage starts in unincorporated portions off of Forest Service property as well too. So, yeah, so the idea being that it was used for repair / future preventative as well, answers your question there.
Okay, yeah, the third paragraph explains that. So
Yeah.
would that be out of cycle? If there was an urgent need, would any municipality be able to come to us and say, yeah, no, this is out of cycle, but we need to do this right now? Can we use the money, or would the municipalities
They would be
be
able
tied to the cycle?
Okay, they would be able to come to you in a situation like that, and if the county commission chose to authorize it, yes, that would be okay.
And would that go through the subcommittee?
I would say the way it's written here, you would not have to send
Okay.
it through the subcommittee because that would be in this paragraph at your discretion.
Okay. That's my only question.
Great.
This can be emergent, but roads really aren't, so. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, there you go.
So our thought is we have an expert who already runs this process for transportation. And we've talked to
Isn't she
her
great?
about just potentially taking this on as well. And
What you get for doing a good job.
I'm excited about it.
This is
It'll be
good.
great.
Roads and now storm sewer.
yeah. Yeah, so we know how the process works and Brooke has a lot of experience with policies, what seems to work best. How those applications should function and the cycles should function. So I think we're in good hands.
But I think this commission sure has a lot of trust and faith in her,
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
confidence. Without hesitation or reservation. So if there's no other questions then,
You good with us to, go ahead,
move forward.
move
Would
forward?
you like us to make a presentation to WACOG before we move
I
forward
think-
with putting the policy in place?
That would be most appropriate.
Okay, maybe they have some suggestions we want to consider.
Yeah.
afterwards. Okay,
Good idea.
we can do that.
And then make appointments in January with the rest of them?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we could do that. It's a good idea.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Sounds good.
So for the 2025 budget cycle, we'll just leave it as, because they've already requested, they had 2 projects, I believe, plus a little bit for unknowns, I would say. So we'll just leave that as for 2025, and then this would go into effect starting in 2025 for the 2026 budget cycle.
The county does, right? No municipalities have used any of it.
Correct.
Nope.
Which actually, that's part of our problem, is because we want to use some of this money in unincorporated areas, but we run into that provision that you can't use a countywide levy on the unincorporated areas. But that's where a lot of the issues are, right? And it affects everybody upstream. So this helps us essentially be able to prioritize our projects and their projects, because we're treating everyone the same. So our unincorporated city and any other city can apply for and receive these funds. So I think it's gonna help us.
Yeah.
Be able to do more.
To date, we haven't spent a lot of this money just because there wasn't a real clear direction on how it could or should be used, so. So yeah, we have spent a little bit. We used some of it for the Horseshoe Pond purchase. We used some of it for the box culvert replacement I mentioned to you, but that's really, I think,
The Tiger dams.
oh, the Tiger dams
Yeah.
as well too, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that by North Fork or by Fort Bonaventura?
Uh,
Cause we did a little bit on that part too.
Oh,
The
that's
ti-
right. We did use the money to shore up the river, I believe.
Oh, did we?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I know the Tiger Dams are intended to be countywide use,
Mhm.
to be deployed on an as needed basis.
I think those are the four big projects. we've done.
But other than that, we,
That counts. About. approximately.
I will look it up. Several million.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's a sizable
Healthy.
amount. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll take me a bit to log into it.
Guess we probably should have warned Scott that he might be asked that question.
He knows me now. I did ask for that.
Let's log in with my computer. and everything, but I'll get there shortly.
While he's looking that up, Brooke, when is the next WACOG meeting? Is it?
November 4th.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I
Fantastic.
think, let me look at the calendar.
Yeah, because the 5th is the Tuesday.
Yeah,
Election day.
election day.
Ooh,
You would put the policy on the agenda.
Yeah, after we go to Wake Up.
$4 million. $4,177,000.
Good.
Of which we're gonna spend, we're budgeting to spend a little bit this year, and then we're budgeted, I think, $1 million or so for next year, twenty
For
twenty-five.
those projects that Gary brought to us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
All right, that's it. We'll get it to WACOG and we'll have it to you after that.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Commissioners.
you.
Appreciate
I'll
it.
entertain a motion for, item number 9.
Let's do adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.